So let's keep it a buck and just say that the Sixers are nearly in the same realm as the Milwaukee Bucks. Even the Milwaukee Bucks can get the win hearsay, but against competitive NBA teams, they're practically nonetheless mediocre to start off the season. Joel Embiid's in a line of controversy for himself. Because with the players they have, you'd think this would be a fringe 5th, 4th seed contending with teams like, let's say, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks. And yeah, the season could change. There's been also underperformances. Indiana Pacers, after being the fastest pace offense, leading the league in points average per game with the fastest pace, they are starting 7-9 because of Tyrese Halliburton's underperformance to adapt over his game to a lesser tempoed point guard, more reluctant on transition and heavily reliant on inefficient chucking threes. Yeah, I'm being honest with you. Even the Brooklyn Nets, I think, would higherly seed them. Milwaukee is shockingly at least 5-9, while the Sixers are bottom next to the Washington Wizards. Joel Embiid is more efficient in punching reporters than he actually is playing basketball. In hearing that he's been more of prioritizing playing for a more winningest system, like he was not playing for France because there was people better than him, over Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama, Embiid only chose a bigger option where they get an all-NBA center to just coast around a better supporting cast over the men's U.S. team, and he comes out here just skipping on team meetings, all because he probably got more important things to do than my leg. Like, come on, man. Joel Embiid should just be tossed somewhere like the city of Corinth, where it's like a post-apocalyptic phenomenon in the Power Rangers universe. Like, that's how like poor Joel Embiid is looking over himself. He's just highly coasting into this regular season, and you would say it's a high exaggeration. DST, we're like just over a month into the start of the season. There is barely a single-digit chance that a team starting 2-11 can make at least a play-in competition. We have 3 additional seeds that you can compete over in the NBA playoffs. And currently, Milwaukee's tied over with 10th and 11th with the Chicago Bulls. They'd be lucky to at least finish 8th. The Detroit Pistons are outplaying them in basketball. And the biggest change they've made is getting a couple washed-up has-beens that used to play for their team and BJ Bickerstaff. So there's practically no excuse when you're given the most winningest coach over the past decade over Doc Rivers, or completely washed, inefficient rosters, having Eric Gordon shoot like he did against the Golden State Warriors back in the 2019 Western Conference Final, and then Eric Gordon, then Kyle Lowry looking like he's completely washed, using all his money for the BBL he took in to slow down his movement up court, then the finals championship point guard he was supposed to be, to bring some experience on this team. Caleb Martin just chucking up anything that moves. Kelly Oubre getting a spot taken by a rookie. And the only good players that I've seen out of this team so far is either Yabusele that they picked up after his performance in the Olympics, showing to be a good hustle-bound defending undersized wing, or Jared McCain, that had 32 points, I think a career milestone for him, and then he dropped over 20, but still over a losing effort. No communication, no maturity, no sense over with leadership with Joel Embiid, if he's already shown to not even be present, knowing that they should get their head out of their asses. Paul George, majority of the time, I know what to get from Paul George. He's even worse than when they had James Harden. At least James Harden, they know that the minimal that he could get is at least a $50 million deal for the next 3 seasons, and they could have at least progressed to 1 conference finals appearance with James Harden. I believed in that. I feel like they can make it work, but obviously some rotations had to be made. Tyrese Maxey's building up to get a story. You get an experienced A facilitating floor spacer like Harden that can create his own shot and can move the second unit. He dropped 50 at least in the game one back when they were in the second round. It shows like Harden has at least shown that he could at least bring over his MVP level. There is nothing but fringe All NBA second team Paul George. I don't feel like he's even been a primary option over when he was in LA since the bubble. He hasn't even been a primary option since he was in Indiana. You could even reach and say Oklahoma City. And he comes over here just doing sauce up, down the lane, finish off the basket, space out, and the most that most of their primary thing is the right way to play basketball. Why not start with a conference finals appearance? Why not aspirate for championship success, knowing this is another time getting another washed All NBA player that had the lack of success, a la Chris Webber when he played with Iverson, and now it's the same thing with Embiid. I don't like saying that because I feel like their best aspirations to win a title was either when they had Ben Simmons before he pissed away his confidence, or James Harden after the Ben Simmons trade. That at least it got Embiid to at least progress. And now you're not even seeing Nick Nurse provide any type of control over with the roster, knowing like they want to get coached harder. And Daryl Morey's only aspiration is, I guess, selling tickets than it is actually making a competent team to test their leading best player to get them anywhere. Because I'm sure this is the last thing that Sixers fans wanted to see this season. And this was with a lot of mediocrity going on. The Dallas Mavericks are just a game above 500 with lack of effort, lack of consistency from their squad after starting 4 straight over their last 6 games of a losing streak. That's piss poor. When you have the Cavaliers that only lost 1 game over their last 16 to the Boston Celtics, and that's fair enough because at least the Celtics are a real basketball team. The Cavaliers really reinvigorated themselves to a roster, and I'll get a video about them soon. The New York Knicks, after a sluggish start over in the season, now winning over their last 3 straight, and now they're 8-6 after beating the Phoenix Suns with Brunson's best performance so far this year, and Karl Anthony Towns showing to be a prime best second option to scoring. That's the sacrifice you get off perimeter defense from Dante DiVincenzo, and we kind of see that over the lack of defense that we just push over for more offensive firepower, and it works. It seems like the Hawks are trying to fight over, and this is possibly the weakest we could see from the Eastern Conference as per usual, as competitive it is for the Western Conference, where we have the Golden State Warriors that had low expectations top over the Oklahoma City Thunders with the Lakers pushing 10-4. And the Houston Rockets, with one of the younger squads in the NBA, starting 10-5. Ime Udoka really changed over this team, having Alfred Sengun and Jalen Green play their best basketball. Nuggets are still over in the conversation. Suns are starting a bit, pushing off a bit more sluggish after they were like 3rd seed in the West. Grizzlies without Ja Morant still can be a problem. You don't see that with the Sixers. You don't know what it is when we're already like barely 2 months into the NBA and there's already trade talks for Joel Embiid. Because it's obvious that this guy's not mature enough to lead over a team as a primary option. And I've had my opinion over this over the last couple of years, that you're trying to escalate a situation with a guy that's not going to appear to any game. He's just a bitchier Patrick Ewing with a hardened play style. And there's nothing against that. I get Embiid has done some relevance over to the Sixers organization, but with what success except his own? He's been one of the better. He's not even been the better big in the NBA to even deserve his league MVP from the season. That the narrative's just a point because they don't want an overseas player showing that he could just be a more of a facilitating a more consistent piece than just a big that sets up threes from over top of the key. And he still finds a way how to get injured after barely even doing that much in the Olympics. I don't even know how that's possible. I would say over the best case scenario, knowing if he continues to play like this over the next 10, there possibly should be trade talks. There possibly should be. Because there's no way that you have come from a championship aspirations to barely even clutching in 5 wins into the season. That even the Chicago Bulls can do. And the Bulls are not even with double-digit losses yet. So aren't the Charlotte Hornets. So aren't the Brooklyn Nets. That would have been fighting for a lottery this season, knowing how lack of ambitious they were around this season. We have our 2 best teams in the NBA. The two teams with one of the better rosters, starting bare minimum top 15 in their own conference. Almost everybody in the conversation in the Western Conference is at least showing up to play. Sacramento Kings, Clippers, Mavericks, even the San Antonio Spurs. The only teams that we know that are going to be the bare minimum of good are the Portland Trail Blazers and the Utah Jazz. And if it wasn't for health reasons, the New Orleans Pelicans would have been battling over with the Spurs with a minimum 7-6 wins. But they still got to get Zion Williamson. Why? At this point, Embiid's just the Eastern Conference Anthony Davis when he was up in the Pelicans. Just battling over with scraps with the bare minimum of success with a shitty front office. That's already shown for one of the worst medical teams in the NBA. With Daryl Morey just having the biggest stiffy for any 2018 Rocket squad. I don't even know why. If they would have signed Ryan Anderson and Trevor Ariza at this moment, all because of their efficiency 7 years ago. Just because they're on the cheap as well. So I don't know what to say if we already have considerations over our top scoring big, the franchise player already underperforming, our second best player already losing morale with the top best player, lack of communication off the veterans and the rest of the team, and already a poor play style. There's only a couple special places for the Sixers to go, and that's back to the lottery where they were 10 years ago. Back when they were desperate on pushing guys like Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, and Markelle Fultz down our throats until they know they were nothing but dead weight. And then we have to wait another 2 seasons before you even get a primary rookie to even make a team around. And then sell all your role players just so they can win championships without you, right, Drew Holiday? So it's just crazy that this Sixers team been kind of a joke this season. It's kind of been fun to watch because I know damn well as soon as they gave that 4-year, $200 million contract for an aging 34-year-old Paul George, just so he could probably scrape you 34, 35 wins and just try to gamble off a play-in spot. This was just... I don't know why you just paid for a more expensive Tim Hardaway Jr., no cap. Fuck him. I'm sorry to say that. That sounds incredibly ignorant, but y'all know this. You guys possibly knew that this was going to fail, but and I don't like to always try to denounce the casual viewer. Because, of course, you hear Paul George joins Joel Embiid, you're excited, because that's a name value talent with an experience in the NBA. But what success does he bring over to this team that the Sixers already have had? That Paul George couldn't even deliver being the second option, with another aging primary option that gets injured and still gets paid. And I don't even blame Paul George for this, because due to his little calf injury that he suffered against their last opponent out of the Memphis Grizzlies that they couldn't even beat, and they trailed by like 6 points. They choked the 18-point lead against the Miami Heat, and they come around here Paul George still coming out here saying that this is his bully year, that he's going to prove that he was the right guy for the job over when he was up in LA. And you can't even beat injury-riddled squads losing their primary option. That's already a red flag amongst itself. You're washed. It's over. You're the NBA equivalent to a Marcus Peters. You had good numbers years ago, and then you come around here aging yourself on contending teams, knowing that you bring nothing to the table. When you do, nobody looks at it. Like that's how harsh it is. And I hate this too because I like watching Paul George hoop. He's a great player, but he can barely put over to the table what the team really needs. That's possibly a suitable wing defender that can get it anywhere. Primary scoring, and I understand it can be a health reason. Joel Embiid's notable for getting injured, but guess what? So is Paul George. Tyrese Maxey, I think he pulled his hamstring, and he missed over his last 7, so it's going to take a while for him to even gain back the momentum he had when he was starting majority of games last season for the Sixers. So just an overall dependency, and a coach already a lack of confidence on keeping the rest of his squad in line. While you have a rookie over to develop that's been outperforming your 3 top paid players. So that's telling the Sixers fans something, that they should already put this whole season as a wash. So there's always been a process of disappointment. And it just takes a coping to just know that your top player just doesn't care what happens. If he's telling you that he's not going to play back-to-backs, if he just wished that he had less options from the media, I do justify, and I'm with Embiid after what the reporter said, completely out of line, and he deserved physical repercussions, even if it was the most minimal. But if that's what's really pushing the toll over these fucking millionaires, that they just take outsider criticism as more of a detriment to their fucking game than what's going on in the actual floor, and they're not the reason why they're succeeding, there's internal gripes that I feel like a lot more people in the Sixers organization got to deal with for the near future, because there's no way you can deal with this for the next 10 years. You just can't, in my opinion. So tell me how you guys feel down below. You feel like the Sixers season is a wash, or there's still a way to turn it around, or I'm just exaggerating?